Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology, creator of the Salesology prospecting method, and I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Tom Poland, my friend, my colleague, and he's a multiple best-selling marketing author. He has clients in 151 cities around the world, and he works just 2 days a week in seclusion from his private resort on the subtropical Sunshine Coast of Australia. So I'm going to have to ask him how he does the 2 days a week thing. But welcome, Tom.
Wendy, always a pleasure. You and I have known each other for, I think I even may have had hair at some point. So that's a long time ago. So it's a pleasure to be back on your show. Thank you.
Yes. Well, I am absolutely delighted that you are here. So let's begin at the beginning, though, which is where I like to begin.
Okay.
How did you get into your current field? How did you become an expert, a marketing guru, a leadsology guru, if you will? What's the backstory?
The last one was easy. I just made up a word and registered as a trademark. That's the easy part. But yeah, let's go back to the beginning because the history of that was me as a 21-year-old and not being able to find work, and so I'd returned from overseas, from having some overseas experience, and I came back and couldn't get a job with my old company, and so I got out the Saturday morning newspaper, as it was then, which and applied for 100 jobs or whatever it was, 50, I can't remember. It was almost 50 years ago we're talking about. So and it's, in the old days, there was no seek.com or anything. You wrote a letter. In this case, I typed the letter up in an old clinky typewriter, and you take it to the post office. You remember those days, and I got mostly no response. So nothing's changed in that regard. These days it's the same. But I got a couple of interviews, and I got a job. And the jobs I applied for all had a company car. That's what I wanted. I wanted a company car. I thought that would be pretty cool. So I got a job, and the job happened to be in sales. So I cut my teeth in sales, selling catering machinery. So there's commercial catering equipment. So bowl mixers and freezers and fridge, God knows what. And I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun selling stuff. And eventually ended up as sales manager and regional manager and kind of climbed my up the corporate ladder. So, but we're talking 20 years later. So I've got this vast experience in sales, some experience in marketing. And the genesis of the current marketing business was that I figured out that it was very, very easy to sell to qualified prospects. So we, as a sales manager, as a part-time sales trainer, trying to figure out how to get people off the street, and I was selling life insurance, by the way, which is not that easy to sell. No one wants to talk to you. It's like convincing someone who doesn't have a toothache to go to the dentist and pay some money. Who wants to do that? So we were selling the invisible. We were selling the promise of something that would happen in future if the unfortunate happened. But as I said, the genesis was I figured out it was very easy to sell people who are pre-qualified. So where do you go on the spectrum? Because in sales, there's a spectrum between people who have like zero interest, and you got to actually, versus those who have been referred by a friend perhaps and know all about your product and all about your service, and they want you or they want it because their friend has given them so much confidence. So that's kind of the slam dunk sale, right? You get the phone call and you say, hey, I want to, and I literally had this on occasions where, can you call in to my office because I want to buy XYZ? I still remember going to one office. I went to one office and I sat down, I started explaining the product. And the guy said to me, he said, hang on a second. And he ran away to the next room and he came back with a pen. He said, where do I sign? I said, but you don't want to hear more about? No. I knew I wanted to buy it before you walked in the door. Come on, where do we just do the deal? Come on. And I was thinking, God, Tom, you idiot! I'm stuck on the wrong end of the spectrum here. I had a guy who was hot to buy, or he decided he wanted to buy. It was so much so that he just raced off and got a pen to sign. So what's the conclusion from that? I'm a slow learner. It took me 20 years, and that's the problem with being a slow learner, by the way. It takes you a long time to figure anything out. But I got there, and the light bulb moment was, if someone is pre-qualified, it's a very easy sale versus someone. So where do you go on the spectrum, which I call at the wrong end of the spectrum, it's convincing. We're running around trying to convince people they should be hungry for our product, even if they haven't even been thinking about it, life insurance. And at the other end of the spectrum, we've got someone who's racing for the pen to sign. So where did I want my sales team to be on that spectrum? So I had a chat with marketing because we all know marketing blames sales. I mean, we're giving you all these leads and you're not converting them, you numbskulls. And sales say, yeah, but the leads you're giving us are not good quality. So that is the genesis of how I got into marketing in 1995.
Okay.
Because I decided I didn't want to waste time with people that didn't want to buy anything.
Well, I like that thinking. I do like that thinking. But it is true that a lot of people waste a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money on things that really don't work, doing some kind of marketing, something or other, that
Right.
They just really don't get any return on their investment of time or money. So
I may have given people the wrong impression, so I'll correct that in case. There is a place, business models, there is a place for every part of that spectrum, from cold calling, from sending out 10,000 direct mail letters, from doing banner ads on billboards next to the freeway. That's all trying to get the attention of people who may or may not have an interest in buying, right through the other end of the spectrum where the prospects are heavily qualified. So I'm not saying you should or should not do anything on that spectrum. I'm just saying, and there was a place for it. I'm just saying this is where I ended up. This is why I ended up on the confirming side of the spectrum rather than the convincing side.
okay. And certainly, and I have certainly done many of those things. And interestingly, and you'll laugh, Tom, because the thing that I personally have found to work the best for me and my business is picking up the phone and talking to people.
Right. Exactly. And so that, yeah. And so that underlines what I'm saying is there's a place in the world for businesses to target either end of the spectrum.
But certainly a lot of people spend a lot of time and a lot of money on things that just don't produce for them. So what are some ideas that might change that? Like how might people change their thinking about marketing?
Well, what the thing that changed it for me was other people's networks. And so I wrote a book on that a while ago, Other People's Networks, actually not too long ago, a couple of years back. So let me unpack that. Whether you're cold calling or whether you're driving traffic from SEO or advertising of offline, online, whatever, it's one of the best ways to sell stuff is the demonstration. So whether it's at a trade show, whether you're doing a demonstration digitally of software, prospects love a demonstration. And I discovered this in my very early days when I started a software company. In the middle of my marketing journey, I started a software company about the same time as a guy called Bill Gates. Now, he did a little better than me. I can claim to going international, but not global like he did. Yeah, he did just a little bit better. But what I discovered is that if you said to someone, look, I've got software and it does X, Y, Z, A, B, C, they'd go, yawn. But if you said, look, I'm doing a demonstration, I'd like to invite you as one of our guests, they'd go, oh, okay, when is it? And so this was life-changing. So whether it's a set of golf clubs or a car or a piece of software, you'll move the needle if you go from offering to show people a product or to meet with them. You'll move the needle if you simply offer a demonstration. Now, the demonstration could be to a group of people, it could be an individual, depending on what the product is, depending on what the market is. But that's one thing that moves the needle is the early in the marketing, the value proposition is we have a demonstration. We want to show you. If you think about the psychology of this, people love sitting back and watching. so spectator sport. We sit back and we watch. God, and people watch reality TV. Go figure. 8 people locked in a building for 3 months. We will watch them having breakfast. We will watch them going into the toilet. Thank God we don't have the door shut and they're coming out again. Why do we do that? Well, we love being spectators. So demonstrations have some psychological effect where they move the needle. That's the first thing. Second thing is OPM. So if you combine the two and you do a demonstration for someone else's network, then we can get the prospects that are semi-qualified. They're still really suspects. We suspect they're interested. And there's 3 categories in that audience. So we can unpack OPM in a moment because it's very relevant to sales leaders. But if we're doing a demonstration to a group of prospects that have been referred by a credible, those prospects look up to the referrer. This referrer has a community, whether it's a club, organization, email list, LinkedIn group, whatever. They have a community, a network of people who are interested in their brand and respect their opinion. And that leader invites all of them to your demonstration, assuming that leader is offering a product or service that is aligned to ours, then that's going to be a very happy prospecting pool. For example, I'm in lead generation. The leaders that we work with, our marketing partners, OPN, other people's networks, have subscriber lists full of people who are interested in generating sales. So our specialty is lead generation of pre-qualified leads, heavily qualified leads. But our wheelhouse is broader than that. Could be anything to do with sales and marketing, hence the reason we're having a conversation. And you are a marketing partner. You are a leader in the field of cold calling. And so you're in our wheelhouse. So your prospects are seeking a solution, which I can also provide. And here we are collaborating.
Absolutely. So I think part of what I heard you say at the beginning was that there's a mind shift on the marketing message itself from let's sit down and talk, or I'm going to, I want to come and meet you and talk or something like that,
Right.
to I'm going to demonstrate whatever it is. So that's a mind shift. It's a mind shift and a message shift.
That's right. It really starts with a message. The message, the market, the magic, and the medium. They're the 4 things I wrote about in a book called Marketing the Invisible. And this is really the distillation of effective marketing. Now, this is all incredibly relevant to sales leaders, because if you can figure out how to give your salespeople better qualified leads, then obviously sales are going to go up. Because even in order to take a salesperson who's going to convince a very interested prospect most of the time, right? So it's relevant. So if we look at the market, which is other people's networks, and so if you're doing, and you see this all the time. I mean, I remember taking my girls to the sports morning, Saturday morning, at 3 daughters, and one of them got Player of the Day award, and which came with a free packet of fries from McDonald's, right? So you go through McDonald's and got 3 girls in the back of the car. You're not going to get through the drive-through with just 1 free bag of fries. Now, the sponsor of that was actually Shell Motor Company. It was Shell service stations, the fuel people. So the collaboration between McDonald's and the fuel company generated business for each other. That was an additional one. You got if you spent $20 of fuel, you got, I don't know, $2 for free or something like that. But there's collaborations all around the world, and you people will have received emails from someone promoting someone else's offer, etc. So these other people's network opportunities are all around us. One of the keys is you've got to find networks of prospects who have joined that network for a reason which is aligned to why they might buy from you. So if you're selling golf clubs, you're looking for people who are interested in sports. If you're selling weight loss, it may be there are groups of people that are interested in well-being, physical well-being. It does not work when you cross over those wheelhouses. So, for example, if I was selling a relationship counseling course and I had a company that sold tablets to couples for God knows whatever reason, we've crossed over the wheelhouse. So it's the same demographic, but it's a completely different buying need. So the motivation for people being in the tablet selling network is completely disconnected from why they might buy a counseling course.
So it's not what I think I'm hearing you say is it's not so much the identity of the prospect as it is determining their interest. And that's how
Correct.
you pick your other people's network, your partners, that
That's a
there
very
has
good
to
way
be a
of putting it. Yeah.
commonality in the interest.
Yeah. In marketing terms, the demographic and the psychographic have to be aligned. So the demographic being, perhaps the gender, however many there are these days, where they live might be part of the demographic. Their age group might be part of the demographic. There might be, so that's all demographics. The psychographics is why are they in that list? Why are they in that network? What are their interests? And you get
Right?
both of those boxes have to get ticked before you have a good source of prospects.
Okay. So now I have two more questions. The first question is, how do you then create a message? Let's assume you've got that network, that other person's network. How do you create the message that's going to really resonate? And how do you know? Is there a way to know ahead of time it's going to work?
Right. So it's a really good question, and the answer is that you have to craft a message that does. First of all, it's got to get cut through. The second thing it has to do is it has to motivate people to want to know more, and that implies there's a third thing there, which is the people. So if I create a marketing message, um, come along to our demonstration and see how our clients in 151 cities around the world generate a weekly flow of pre-qualified uh, client inquiries. So that's and that's a long message. So this is not a dinner party answer. What do you do for a living? Well, you can come along to our demonstration and find out about 100 if you want to talk about it. It's not an elevator pitch. It's not a USP. It's a marketing message which is fairly and squarely designed to be read. And when we ask someone to read something, we get more real estate to play with our marketing message versus we do on a billboard next to the freeway. So marketing is the same as every other industry or profession, if I dare call it a profession, and that we can segment and specialize. So when we're online and when the subtitle of a book or the title of a webinar, we get more words to play with, is what I'm saying. And if you want to unpack that even more, there are three characteristics to every successful message. One is it has to be benefit rich, and 20 years ago that was enough. Come along and see how we generate clients every week, or come along and see how we can double your business revenue. 20 years ago that would work, maybe 30 years ago, but then everyone jumped on the benefit rich bandwagon. People stopped talking about we pride ourselves on quality, or we've been in business 50 years, or we have a new building. They stopped talking about themselves. They understood they needed to start talking about market needs. So benefit rich is no longer enough. In order to get cut through, and by cut through, I'm talking about the reticular activating system, which is literally a physical part of the back of the brain, which filters out irrelevancy. You get cut through, and we don't get cut through if they've heard the similar message to what we're saying, like increased sales. It doesn't get cut through anymore. So to increase cut through, we need to get differentiation into the message. We need to be able to talk about or write about the value of working with you and your product and your service using words that are different to others. And the last thing is we can help differentiate and we can further help increase believability and desirability by including specifics. So those are the three things: benefit rich, differentiation, and specifics. Give an example from a client in software. Max used to, well, still does, sell software for fast food restaurants, the likes of Kentucky Fried, KFC, McDonald's, Burger King, etc. And so he started by his marketing message was, we create great FTPOS for QSRs, quick service restaurants. And to be fair, even though there's a lot of acronyms in there, his target market would know what he's talking about, FTPOS and QSRs. So we changed that to come along to our demonstration, and we'll show you how we increase the sales and profits in QSRs by 50% within 90 days. Subtitle, guaranteed. So now we've got a message that opens the eyes of his audience, his prospects, and has them leaning forward and wanting to know more about that demonstration. Now, back in the day, we would get these prospects into a conference room. Nowadays, it's all done online. But either way, it still worked because we switched up the message from talking about this product to making it benefit rich, differentiated in specifics. And note in that statement, increase the profits, sales and profits and QSRs by 50% within 90 days. There's no mention of the product. There's no mention of software in there. It could have been a different car park arrangement. It could have been getting people through the drive-through. It could have been signage. It could have been how you hire the right staff to do the upsell. It could have been anything. And people didn't care they didn't know what it was. They just wanted to know because it was benefit rich and it was different to whatever his competitors were saying, talking about software. And it contains specifics. And the specifics, provided you get it right, increase desirability and believability. Now, the fact is that Max's software could increase sales and profits within 7 days, but that wasn't believable. And in fact, I think we even made it 25% within 90 days because it doesn't matter if you can achieve more than that. If people don't believe you can, it's no good. So that's how you craft a marketing message that gets cut through and gets your prospects leaning forward. I mean, literally with their eyes open going, oh, I need to find out more about that.
Okay, so then I have to ask you the question, and maybe I should have asked you before I asked you my previous question, but here goes. How do you find other people's networks?
Oh, that's the easiest thing in the world. Finding them is easy. Doing a deal with them is more difficult, but we can do both of those things. So what you do is you go to Google, and these days you can go to ChatGPT. It's even better, and you can say, let's go to ChatGPT. So find me all the organizations in the greater New York area who have some sort of sporting goods or service, and who on their website have an email subscriber list that people can opt into, and are running demonstrations. And just give me the top 100 biggest ones. Now, AI produces slop often, but you can iterate. You can do another iteration. Okay, so filter this by just the ones downtown, or filter this by those who have employees of more than 25 in number, or whatever else, whatever the iterations are going to be. But you'll end up with a list, including frickin' email addresses, for crying out loud, in a number of seconds, or 90 seconds maybe, of people who have all your ideal clients sitting in their networks. So that's easy.
It's very easy. You don't even have to go to a list broker anymore.
No, you don't. They're out of business. Well, they're not. But the certain part of their market's gone away. So, but the thing is, you've got to get the search criteria right. If you get too broad, then you come up with poor quality prospects. But you can keep tightening it and keep tightening and keep tightening it, refine the list. People who have been actively marketing via advertising, SEO, or whatever in the last month. Now, I'm just spitballing here. I don't know if that'll work or not, but you get the results and you keep tightening it. So all we have so far, though, are suspects. We suspect they might be interested. A key characteristic you want and partners, by the way, is that they are already actively marketing through other people's networks. And this comes back to the original spectrum we talked about. You don't want to reach out to someone who's not actively marketing and try and convince them it's a good idea to work with you and do some cross-marketing. You want to reach out to the other end of the spectrum. People are already actively marketing. I mean, you and I know so many people that we do cross-marketing with, right?
Yes.
And that characteristic is they've got our demographic, our psychographic prospects in their databases. They are actively marketing through other people's networks already. So that's a slam dunk. So if you keep your iterations going with ChatGPT until you've refined it to people who are actively marketing, then it's much easier approach. Even then, if you just email them and say, hey, you don't know me, but my name's Tom Poland, do you want to do some cross marketing? You probably won't get a response. We have to establish 4 things in that person's life prior to us doing a deal, and respect, rapport, reciprocity, and relatability. And that is in my book, Marketing the Invisible. But point is this: if you, I talked about huge acronym marketing. To cut a long story short, essentially, huge acronym marketing is that you think you're an irresistible value proposition. If we have time, I can share where that came from. But the point is that before you propose marriage, you have to ask for a first date. I found this out the hard way.
Well, I think you have to tell us the story now, Tom Boland.
Hugh Jackman. Well, I actually fell with my wife. I fell in love at first sight. I mean, literally, across the other side of a crowded room. It was literally across the other side of the crowded room. And when I first saw her, the rest of the room went out of focus. I mean, literally, the only thing that was in focus was her head and shoulders. It was the most extraordinary supernatural experience. So but I was actually smart enough to know I shouldn't just go up to her and say, hey, you don't know me, but my name's Tom. Would you marry me? We had a first date and we worked up to it. I proposed a year later, and she did not say yes. She didn't say no, but she didn't say yes either. So I was sort of in limbo. But long story short, years later, we did get married. And I asked her one morning over coffee in the kitchen, and I still don't know why I asked her, brain sneeze. I said, who do you think is the world's most irresistible man? And she said, of course, you are, Tom. I said, yes, of course, bald, wrinkled, aging, who couldn't go for that? I said, no, come on. So I got it out of her. Eventually, she said, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, just incredible individual. Happens to be Australian as well. I said, okay, so another brain sneeze. I asked my wife, what would you do right now if there's a knock at the door and you put your coffee down and you went and opened it and it was Hugh Jackman and he dropped to one knee and he held up a small red velvet box and flipped the top open. There was a diamond ring and he proposed to you. He said, you don't know me, but my name's Hugh Jackman. Would you make me the happiest man on earth? Would you want to ride with me and live together with me this real life? What would you say to Hugh Jackman if he proposed to you? And she put a coffee down and she said, Tom, I'm sorry, but I have to be honest, I'd run away with the guy. And I immediately said to her, you don't have to apologize. She said, well, I just told you I'd run away with another guy. I said, yeah, but it's Hugh Jackman. If he proposed to me, I'd run away with him, and I'm not even gay. And so the corollary there is a lot of people are trying Hugh Jackman marketing when they're not Hugh Jackman. They're approaching marketing partners or they're approaching prospects with a value proposition, not to get married, but to buy something or do a deal when they haven't had a first date. So the first date you've got a couple of options. If you find someone you want to do cross marketing with, you've got a couple of options. If you have a podcast like you have, Wendy, you can invite them onto your podcast because that establishes rapport, respect, relatability, and reciprocity very quickly. If you don't have a podcast and you don't want it, if you don't have a podcast and you're okay starting one, start one because that's the best, fastest, easiest route to those 4 levels of what I call psychological allure: rapport, respect, relatability, reciprocity. If you don't want to start a podcast, then find something that they're wanting to promote, their downloadable guide, their webinar, their blog post, their podcast, or whatever it is that they are, because remember, they're actively marketing, and reach out to them and say, hey, look, I've got an audience which I think would be your target market. I just want to check in with you. Would you be okay if I promote your webinar, your downloadable guide, your free sample, whatever it happens to be? And they will come back and they'll say, hell yes. They won't ghost you because you're giving them an offer that they're already looking for. And that's the key ingredient to inbound marketing is you find people already looking for something that you've got. So you don't have to convince them, you're just confirming. And what'll happen is reciprocity will kick in 7 times out of 10. In the same email, they will say to you, and how can I help you? Boom. Because reciprocity is it's the unsung hero. It's the least written about, and yet the most powerful force in marketing, is that we humans, and we'll exclude the narcissists and the sociopaths, but we humans, for the most part, feel more comfortable when the giving is evened up. So we get invited to the neighbor's place. Our neighbors invite us, and I take the call. And yeah, we'll come over Friday night. I'll check with my wife, but she'll be fine. Yeah, look forward to it. Thank you very much. Well, what do we bring? And the person who's invited me said, nothing, just bring yourselves. That your presence is presence enough. And so I said to my wife, how do you feel about going to the neighbors? Yeah, it'll be good for dinner on Friday night. Yeah, absolutely. What are we bringing? And they said, don't bring anything. Typical man, right? I said, oh, Tom, for God's sake, how many times have we been through this? Of course you have to take something. They've invited us to dinner. So we take wine, we take chocolates, whatever. And then the next morning there's a freaking pot plant on the front doorstep because they've given back. And then we've got to give something back. It goes on forever. Reciprocity. But we feel compelled to do it. So that's a really gentle way to slide into someone else's network.
Okay, I love that. So I know that you have a gift for our listeners. So tell us about your gift.
People can go to gettomsfreebook.com if they want to get the original book that started it all, The Science of Being in Demand. They can also go to 5hourchallenge.com if they want to figure out how to craft their own marketing message. Yeah, and they can reach out and contact me, Tom at Leadsology, LeadSology.guru, if they have questions.
Okay. So for our listeners, in case you didn't have a chance to grab a pen and write that all down, no worries, because we have all the links to Tom's book, The Science of Being in Demand, which is a great book, and his 5-day challenge. Those links will be in the show notes, along with Tom's email address. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on one of the links, or email Tom, connect with him, and you will be glad that you did. And where else, if people want to find you, Tom, where else can they find you?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, well, then we have it. Go to the show notes. Click on the links.
There's a website, but who wants to go to a website? Leadsology.com, LinkedIn, which I rarely visit, but they can find me there. But yeah, the best point of contact is going to be my email address. I'm pretty good at getting back to people.
Okay, good. So we're putting Tom's email address in the show notes. Finish listening to the podcast, go to the show notes, click on his email address, send him an email. He will respond. I know he will. He has his hand over his heart. So there he goes, hand over his heart.
It's still beating, Wendy. It's still beating. Picked a good one.
Yeah. So,
right.
And while you've got your hand over your heart, will you promise me that you'll come back again and we'll continue the conversation?
If the ticker's still ticking, I'll be back.
Okay. His hand is over his heart. So thank you, Tom Poland.
Thanks, Wendy.
So, to our listeners, thank you for being here, for listening to this podcast. You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, with my very special guest, Tom Poland, with the beating heart. And if you have found value in listening to today's podcast, then please think about one business owner, one entrepreneur, one sales leader, somebody that you know that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really big bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.